Hello everyone, we are the Toy Tinkers and our FED project was toy design. Our group members are Sam Pogue, Claire Samama, Ryan Phillips, Benita Thapa, and Aiden Scanlon. We were tasked with creating a fun and educational toy for elementary schoolers. A lot goes into your project and it is a major component of E101.
Although there are many versions of the engineering design process, this is the particular one we kept in mind while doing our project.
We started the design cycle by asking ourselves what the challenge presented was. The challenge presented was to create an educational toy for a kid aged 5 through 12. The toy could either teach the kid something or address a specific learning disability. This particular FED project allowed a lot of room for interpretation because there are very few restraints placed upon the toy itself. This is good in one sense because we may keep our options open, but also requires that we use some creativity to come up with a design.
The second step of the design cycle was to begin our research. Because toy design and child development are such broad topics, we decided to make a toy for the younger end of the age range because toys for young children are generally simpler in design. We also started our research with an interview of a kindergarten teacher to help give us some ideas and concepts to focus the rest of our research on. We saw potential in the development of motor skills as a learning objective when it came up in the interview, so one of our peer-reviewed articles addresses motor development in young children. The rest of our peer-reviewed articles were focused on providing general information about child development and learning, such as the ways that young children develop mental skills and react to competitive environments.
We spent many initial group meetings brainstorming ideas for a toy that we could create. Our goal was to come to our first group meeting with each person having a toy design in mind. From there, we discussed the ideas brought to the table and decided why or why not they were reasonable options. We discussed these ideas until we settled on one that we would make. The general concept for the toy that we settled on was a box that would be split into 3 sections. There would be a hole in the side of the 2 middle walls sectioning the box, as well as 2 holes on the outside of the walls, in which 2 spoons would be put through. Each of the outside sections would hold marbles that people would try to get into the middle section using these spoons to put the marbles through the holes in the middle of the walls.
Next, we created a blueprint of the idea for our toy with proportional dimensions before obtaining our materials and constructing our prototype. For materials, we decided that we would use a type of wood called particle board, which was sturdy, cheap, and light for its durability. After that, we decided to put the box together using nails and screws inserted into pre-drilled holes. It is important to take time planning for each round through the design cycle because it reduces the chance of problems with the next step.
Because our toy was essentially a wooden box, the craft center was where we did the majority of our construction work. This is where the idea of our toy actually began to come to life. We assembled the structure of our box here by sawing our wood into correctly sized pieces and drilled them together. Using special drill bits, we drilled the 4 necessary holes into the inner walls and outer border of the box. In our original prototype, we created the spoons ourselves using a Dremel tool to carve out the head of a spoon from a wooden beam and then a gouge and sandpaper to refine it. We then used powerful wood glue to attach a handle to each spoon. We also spent time at our residence hall in Tally Student Union adding the finishing touches to our final design, such as adding handles and painting it red and black.
These pictures show some of the construction process that happened in the craft center. On the left, we are gouging to create the heads of 2 spoons from either end of a beam of wood. In the middle, that shows the special drill bit that we used to drill the holes in the side of the box that the spoon would go through. And on the right, the design process for the spoons of the prototype is being implemented. Here we are trying to decide whether or not we would use some sort of glue or other techniques to attach the head of the spoon to the handle. Here you can see what our final design looked like after we had finished construction.
In order to test our design and its appeal to the target audience, we sent our prototype to an elementary school to be tested. We received feedback from the children saying they thought the game was fun, but it was too hard because the holes were too small. We also received feedback from the teachers saying that we could make it more child safe, as well as add things like handles and a cute timer. After the toy was returned to us, we began making alterations, such as creating the handles, making the holes bigger, adding longer spoons, and adding ramps to cover up the corners so the marbles could not get stuck.
Over our time working on this project, we faced many design challenges. For example, the wood that we bought was cheap and splintered easily, which made it difficult to drill as well as hammer in nails. This created safety problems with nails sticking out in our initial prototype that we had to fix in our final product. We also had issues sizing the toy, and we had to learn how to properly utilize the tools at the craft center because we were all pretty inexperienced with carpentry.
We did not win at FEDD, but we placed in the top 50%. Though it did not win, our toy was popular among guests. Everyone enjoyed playing our toy and thought that it was really competitive and cute. If we could do things differently, we would spend more time developing ideas for a toy. If we had extra time and resources, we would have included more intricate design principles, such as a cute timer, which was a piece of feedback we could not achieve because we would have exceeded our budget.
If we could give freshmen one piece of advice, we would tell them to start earlier because we didn't realize how long certain things could take. You should also make sure to plan for setbacks when creating a timeline for your work, because the design process will never go perfectly the first time around. There were a few setbacks during our design process, and we did not realize how much time it would take to get these issues resolved, so it is best to plan for these setbacks in advance.